Hello and welcome to Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes Grand Arena Championships, Season 30, Week 2, Round 1. My name is Boma Fett. At the time of this match, I was 1-2 on the season. I had gone 7-2 in the previous 5v5, and I was being punished for that with really tough matchups in this season. But this matchup was one that I felt that I actually should have won. So let's take a look at my opponent. His name was MacLeod. Let's go to the Hotbot for a quick comparison. Alright, so as you can see, there's actually more green on my side than red on MacLeod's side. But let's zoom in and take a closer look. So the Hotbot report has been changed, and this top section no longer gives any useful information. It used to tell you what the person's score was for the season, to let you know, are they really invested in GAC or not. It used to give you their statistics from the old GAC system, which also gave you some insight into whether the person really enjoyed GAC, whether they were into it, whether they would put full effort. But now what we get is the rank, which doesn't tell us much, and we get the combined stats from the old GAC and the new GAC together, which doesn't tell you anything. Are these stats low because the person didn't like the old system but has been working hard in the new system? Or the opposite? Maybe they tried hard in the old system but they don't like the new system because of the stupid matchups, and so they've given up. I have no way of knowing. So I wish they would change this top section back, or at least give us the score in the current GAC. It's very, very unusual for me to have a higher GP than my opponent, and here you can see overall 350,000 more. That is quite a bit. However, as I always point out, GP is a broken stat, and what you really need to look at is the top of the roster, the part that's going to be used in GAC, and here you can see in the top 80, MacLeod has almost 250,000 more GP. So that's a 600,000 GP swing between me being up 350,000 to me being down 250,000. What that tells us is that MacLeod has a very, very concentrated top-heavy roster. In the Zetas, I have 51 more applied. That suggests that I've been playing at least a year longer, maybe closer to 2 years longer, which means that MacLeod must have invested some money in their account in order to get it to this level in that amount of time. Typically, when someone has a lot fewer Zetas, they also have worse mods, because mods are one of those things that just takes a lot of time in order to build up a really good roster. But that is not the case here. Our average speeds added are almost identical, and if you look down here at the mod analysis, even though there's a lot of green here, he has a couple more speed 25 and above, and at these other levels, it's actually relatively close. 70 to 53, 150 to 123, 393 to 311. So I do have a few more mods with high-speed secondaries, but it's not a big advantage. What is a big advantage is the Gear 13s. MacLeod has 115 to my 74. That's 41 more Gear 13 characters. That is huge. And in 3v3, that's 13 more fully Gear 13 squads. Now, Gear 13s translate to relic levels, and you can see down here that he has nearly double the total number of relic levels, 651 to 330. So forget about overall GP. Look at what's happening with the part of the roster that's actually going to get used in GAC. And MacLeod has a very, very clear advantage. Now this Datacron section here is new in the report, and it gives us a little bit of information, but it's not that useful. I have more total Datacron levels. He has more with level 6 and level 3, but it doesn't tell us about the abilities. Some of the Datacron abilities are stupidly overpowered. Unfortunately, though I have rolled and re-rolled a bunch of my Datacrons, I have not gotten any of those stupidly overpowered abilities. So that's going to put me at a disadvantage against a lot of opponents, especially opponents who have invested and put money into re-rolling and re-rolling. I've re-rolled when I've had the materials to, but I'm not going to put any money into Datacrons, just like I don't put any money into anything else. Another huge advantage for MacLeod is in the GLs. MacLeod has 5 out of the 6, I have 2. Now, they've definitely improved this key character section. You can see that MacLeod does have Malgus, but only at gear 11. Neither one of us has Starkiller. The rest of these are all relic, but you'll notice that a lot of my relic levels are lower than his. He's got 7 and 8 on everybody. I have a couple of 7s, and the rest are lower than that. And finally, the important ships, we can see a relic 9 on his Piet, giving him the faster Executor. So let's go back to the game and take a look at the board. I kept my defense mostly the same as the previous week. In this top zone, we have Poggle with Battle Droids, Maul Mandalorians, Sith Triumvirate, Fin Poe, and Grievous. And I actually decided to change out Grievous and put in Beskar Mando. Originally, I was thinking of saving Beskar Mando for offense to use with Fennec against Lord Vader, but I decided at the last minute to change. In the bottom zone, I had Darth Revan, CLS, Gas, Shock Clones, and the Boba Bomb Squad. I do have a few low-level Datacrons on some of these squads, but like I said, I do not have any of the overpowered abilities that are going to make these very difficult to kill. In the back zone, I've got Dash Rendar, Newt, Savage Malik, Hux First Order, and Qui-Gon Jinn. No Datacrons in this zone because I just don't have the relics on my characters that allow me to put the Datacrons on there. In the fleets, I made no change from last week. We've got the Chimera, the Finalizer, and the Executor. Alright, we've got a little time warp here. You can see that MacLeod cleared 3 zones. In the bottom front, 1 shot against each squad except for CLS. He took 2 against CLS. In the back zone, 4 against Savage Malik. So good job there, Malik. In the top zone, he one-shot all 5 squads. And in the fleet zone, he was unable to beat the Chimera. A little bit surprising there. He did one-shot both the Finalizer and the Executor. So it's possible he had another fleet available, and he could come back and try and clean this up if he needed to. So let's take a look at his defense. He set a really tough top zone. We've got Qui-Gon Jinn with a Datacron. And this Datacron gives extra turn meter when someone is defeated, along with crit damage and physical damage. We've got Shock Clones with a Datacron. This one gives extra health and protection, and then this Retaliate mechanic. This one infuriates me. This is the worst mechanic in the game. We hate it in Conquest when Padme Squad has it. Why, oh why would you bring this to GAC? Get rid of this CG. Please, oh please. Then we have GL Kenobi with a stupidly OP Datacron. This Datacron gives them a chance to reduce their cooldowns, and it also gives them a stun every time they use a special ability. This is terrible. Datacrons were supposed to shake up the meta, and here you've taken the best squad in the game, and you've given them stupidly OP abilities. That's not shaking up the meta, CG. That's reinforcing it. Don't do this in the future, please. Next up, we have Lord Vader with a Datacron. This Datacron isn't too bad. It just gives some health recovery. Protection recovery means nothing to Lord Vader. But does he really need more health recovery? Not really. And then we've got an Iden squad. Iden is still only 5 stars, so no Datacron here, thankfully. But this is a really, really tough top zone. In the bottom zone, we've got Hux First Order, we've got a Finn-resistant squad, Bosk Bounty Hunters with the Zam Omicron, Newt Gunray, and Padme with Wrecker and Cody. So an interesting squad there. All of these squads have the relics needed for Datacrons, but there are no Datacrons here. So had my opponent had the Datacrons to apply here, you'd see how Datacrons can actually make these lopsided matches way more lopsided. Rather than balancing things and allowing me to punch up against the unfair matchup, Datacrons have the potential to actually make the matchups more unfair. So I started my attack run against the Hux First Order, and I took in my Bad Batch here. My Bad Batch is only gear 12, but it is such a good counter for First Order that it can punch up against these relic squads. As long as Echo goes first, he rips away the advantage, that feeds turn meter to your squad, you get the stuns with tech, and then you could just button mash here, and it's still going to work. They're kind of an automatic squad. It almost doesn't matter what you do. Now, one thing that I could have maybe done better is focus on Kylo. He does get a couple of AoEs. That feeds a little bit of turn meter to his squad, and it does cut into my protection a little bit. But the Bad Batch has such good protection recovery that I'm going to get that back anyhow. It doesn't really matter. So again, an AoE from Kylo. He bit into my protection. One AoE from Hunter, and my characters are full on protection again. So this was an easy 67 to start the match. Next up, I went after the Newt Gunray squad, and for this I took in my Palpatine with Mara, but I wanted to save my Vader. I knew that he usually puts Geonosians in the back zone, so I went Palpatine, Mara, and TIE Fighter Pilot. So I started off with Mara's middle move here, trying to get a stun, and I didn't get the stun, which was a little disappointing, but I threw out the grenade there, I got more debuffs on them. I decided to start going after B1, because B1 is going to do a lot of attacking, he has the potential to do big damage. I got the stuns there from Palpatine, which is beautiful, keep Newt and Jango locked down. Jango, of course, has the damage immunity, so if you can keep him from attacking for a couple of rounds, that is just fantastic, because you can't do any damage to him anyhow. I'm not sure why I attacked him there. That was weird. But anyhow, you just keep him stunned if you can, so that he can't get any big hits against you. We've got the Mara and EP feeding each other turn meter. Now I have to hit Jango, because we've got Newt in stealth. But now Jango is out of damage immunity. He's still stunned, so he hasn't taken a turn yet, but he's out of damage immunity. So we're working on him while we wait for Newt to come out of stealth. We get him down once. Now he's out of stun. So what are we going to do? We're going to put him back in stun. So we've got them both stunned again. Now I do something stupid here at the end. I try and recover protection on Palpatine, but I think I just took protection away from the TIE Fighter pilot, and so it doesn't get me anything in the end. In fact, it takes away a banner, I think. So I ended with a 55 instead of a 56. So a little bit of a misplay there, not a big deal. Next up is the Bosk Squad, and because of the Zam Omi, they're going to be very fast. So I take in my Wedge, Han, and Chewie. I gave them a level 2 Datacron. It has a little bit of health steal and a little bit of extra protection. I probably should have stunned Bosk here, but instead I went after Zam. So Bosk got his taunt, but he only has one Zeta. He has the leadership Zeta. So I was able to get rid of his taunt pretty quickly there using Chewie. I went back after Zam to get rid of her Omicron. And then we're going to focus down on Boba Fett. They are focusing on Wedge a lot. So unfortunately, even doing a lot of basics trying to get back the protection, I wasn't able to get back all of Wedge's protection, and we end with a 56. Next up is this Finn squad. And I decided to do something here that I've never done in 3v3 before, and that is take Mon Mothma. Now I just used Wedge, so I don't have him here, so instead I throw in my Gear 12 Kyle Katarn. And I really have no idea what I'm doing with this squad. I have not used them on offense. They typically go on defense, or they just sit on my bench. So once I get my Kyle Katarn up to relics, that's going to help tremendously. But for now, it's just kind of a button mashing experiment, and I didn't feel like I was doing much, and I just needed more attacks. Rather than reading and reading and reading, I just needed more attacks. So after about a minute, I put this on auto, and I just let them do their work. So you'll see coming up here as we get closer to 4 minutes, I'm just going to decide to put this on auto. And then I did keep focusing back on Finn because I thought he was the main damage dealer in this group. All three of them can taunt. It's kind of a weird group. So there we go. I put it on auto. I kept the focus on Finn. As soon as we get through him, we'll switch to Poe. And again, when Holdo taunts, we'll get rid of her taunt and we'll change the focus back to Poe again. So there we go. Change the focus back to Poe. Down goes Poe. And down goes Holdo for an easy 57. And maybe we'll use that squad more often. Now this Padme squad had me a little bit puzzled. I've been told by people that you can use a relic nest to solo Padme squads. So I went ahead and took nest. I gave her a low-level Datacron that gave her extra tenacity. And even with that, I was still unsure, so I also threw in Hermit Yoda. So I wasn't worried about my nest getting debuffed. I just wasn't sure if she was going to have enough damage to get through the opponents. That was the main concern. My nest is only Relic 3, and so she doesn't hit nearly as hard as a lot of people's Relic nests. I do still have her modded for tenacity rather than damage, or speed. And of course, counterattacking against a Padme squad is not necessarily a good thing. So I probably don't have my nest modded correctly for this, and I honestly didn't really know what to do. Who should I focus on? Should I focus Padme? Should I go after the sides? So I did focus on Padme for most of this match, and I made almost no headway. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on fast forward. You'll note that at one point I do put it on auto just to try and get more attacks in, build up more damage. I did lose Hermit Yoda. So perhaps one of you people in the comments who've been telling me to use Nest against Padme, you can tell me what I did wrong here. What am I supposed to do? How do I win this with Nest against Padme? What's the secret? We're down under a minute. You can see I'm finally able to take out Cody. but then it times out. So I went back in with a squad that I normally use against Night Sisters, but according to GAC history, MacLeod does not set Night Sisters on defense, so I felt comfortable taking them in. That is Kylo Ren unmasked with First Order Executioner and Wat Tambor. I gave a Datacron giving extra crit damage. Now, I did these battles about 3 weeks ago, and in all honesty, I didn't even remember that I had done this. And looking back, I'm not sure exactly what I was thinking here. Except, I knew that I wouldn't need this squad against Night Sisters, so they were available. And I guess I figured that Executioner should be able to do enough damage to cut through the protection up, maybe? So I'm going to go ahead and fast forward this one also, because this takes quite a while. So I started off focused on Wrecker. I figured he was going to keep taunting anyhow, and so I focused down on him. This is another case where you've got a character who's going to keep increasing their damage. The Executioner is going to keep ramping up and ramping up, so it was one that was going to take a while. But eventually I switched over to Padme because she kept healing Wrecker. I would get him down near yellow and then she would heal him up. So I decided finally to switch over and attack Padme. I got her really close. I got her into the red, and then she healed again. And finally I got rid of her, and that allowed me to take out Wrecker pretty easily. So 35 banners there. So that opened up the back zone. And nothing too difficult here. We've got a Basti Jedi Squad, a really poor Inquisitor Squad, Gear 12 Geos, Akbar, and Mothma. So we started with Mothma, and I took my Iden Versio Squad here. Now my Iden Squad is under-geared compared to this Mothma Squad, but there's no Kyle Katarn, and that's really the one thing that you look out for is a Relic Kyle. So we went after Wedge first. I've got my Death Trooper now up to Gear 12, which is going to help here. He's going to do a little bit more damage, although really, Iden is the best damage dealer on this squad. But it does help having the Gear 12 on the Death Trooper instead of just Gear 11. And of course, the big benefit of the Death Trooper is that if you use Terminate to kill the opponent character, then they can't be revived. So that's always the goal, is to use Terminate to terminate the opponent's character. Having Biggs on the other side is annoying because Biggs gets a bonus turn every time he takes damage, and so that can be very frustrating, especially because my characters will then counterattack on his bonus turn. So you get the back and forth, and I know there are people who get very concerned about a timeout. I've only seen that happen, I think, once. And I had used the Terminate to get rid of Wedge, so Mothma was not able to bring Wedge back. So it was just a matter of working down Biggs. It takes a little while, but you can get some dazes and stuns, and those help considerably. And eventually, bye-bye Biggs, an easy 57. Now, I really should have switched to the front zone and taken care of the more difficult squads before coming back here and doing these easier squads. But I didn't. I was on vacation, I wasn't really thinking straight. I didn't even use my spreadsheet on this one. And that, I think, was a big mistake. It actually cost me. So I ended up taking Invader against these Geos. They're only Gear 12. I didn't need the side characters, but I took them anyhow. We go into Merciless, we get rid of Spy, we get rid of the Alpha, and we get rid of Poggle. I could have soloed this and gotten a 59, instead it's a 57. Next up was the Akbar Squad, and I took in Thridian here. So Thrawn, Gideon, and Stormtrooper. So in retrospect, I'm really kicking myself for this. This is a situation where I could have used maybe Night Sisters or Geonosians. I could have used a much lesser squad in this situation, and that would have saved Thrawn and Gideon to use in the front zone. Those are great control characters, and I really could have used them. I don't want to give too much away, but you will see that these guys could have come in handy. So I worked on Rolo first. She's got the big damage. I wanted to get rid of her. Now I know, of course, Captain Han is going to revive her as soon as I get her down, but I figured it would still be easier to kill her twice, and that would then buy me some time because the cooldown will then be reset on Han's revive. So I could get rid of her, he'll bring her back, I'll kill her again, and then I'll get rid of him. Now I've got time to work on Han. I get him fractured, so he won't even be able to take a move for a while. So now I'm just trying to get him down before he can bring her back a second time. I'm keeping them under control using the fracture, using the turn meter removal. I'm recovering banners with Thrawn, swapping turns to Gideon and Stormtrooper. So great control team, but just completely overkill in this situation. Maybe if Akbar had the Omicron, this would have been called for. But it wasn't really needed here. So an easy 57. Next up is this terrible, terrible Inquisitor Squad, and I overkilled this as well. I used a squad here that I thought I'm not going to use anywhere else, but I should have saved it just in case. I don't know why you would possibly place a squad this bad when you've got a roster advantage like my opponent had. He had enough relic characters that he could place completely 100% relic squads everywhere and still have 100% relic characters to use on offense. Now I know that you do have to relic up some bad characters for some of the GLs, so you might not want to use all relic characters, but come on. This is a joke, and I should have treated it like a joke instead of taking my Jedi training ray here. $57 banners there. And finally, it dawned on me, you know what? I should make sure I can clear the front zone. So I jumped up to the front zone and went after the Galactic Legends, starting with Lord Vader. And I took in my Jedi Master Kenobi with GK and Cat. I gave them the Datacron that I've got for Galactic Republic. This Datacron has stacking damage, stacking offense, which is great, but then it also has turn meter gain, which is completely useless for Kenobi. This is usually a pretty good counter here, able to withstand the initial attack from Maul, and we get rid of Royal Guard and shift our focus back over to Maul. Now, both Kenobis have a cleanse to get rid of the damage over time. The damage over time is building and building and building, but we've also had our cooldowns increased on General Kenobi. So GK is not going to be able to do his cleanse right away. But we're able to get through Maul relatively quickly and on to Lord Vader. GK is taking a pounding, but he's surviving. We got a cleanse there with the ultimate from Jedi Master Kenobi. He got his ultimate and put the dots right back on there. But now it's just a matter of building up our damage enough that we can get through. So big hits from Cat. I think that I made a mistake here and I didn't put Shien on anybody for a while. And so the big hit's not going to be as big without the Shien out there. So here I finally put Shien onto Jedi Master Kenobi. and that's really going to help Cat's damage. So we've almost got him. And a big hit from Cat takes him out. 55 banners there. Next up is their Jedi Master Kenobi. And so I take in my Jedi Master Luke, along with Jedi Knight Luke and Jedi Revan. Now I took in this Datacron that has a chance to dispel debuffs, and it also has riposte. Now the key here is that you don't increase the cooldowns on Cat. You want her to use her insta-kill right away on Jedi Master Luke. So I thought about it and then thought otherwise. There's the insta-kill completely wasted. So now we want to get rid of Cat as quickly as possible, but we need to get around the taunt from GK, so that's where Revan comes in. We mark Cat. Try and get her down as quickly as possible. We've got the riposte now, so by calling assists, you're going to hit under the protection. So we're able to get through her pretty quickly, and we proc the savior mechanic there. Now, I should keep calling assists, and for some reason I didn't. He got his ult pretty quickly. But now I'm back to calling assists. The more assists you can call, the better when you have riposte. But now my mark has dropped off. So I'm going to have to wait for a mark to come back around so that I can get back to her. So there's the mark. We'll mark her again. And they took out my Revan. So now I'm a little bit worried. But once I got Cat down, that made me feel much better. Jedi Master Kenobi, of course, hits very, very hard, but Cat does a ton of damage. So without Revan, I'm not going to be able to get around the taunt until I get my ultimate. He's already gotten his second, and I haven't even gotten to mine yet. So finally pop the ultimate. Now I can focus on Kenobi. Again, I really should keep calling assists as much as possible in order to utilize that riposte to hit under the protection. But I didn't always do that. So looking back in retrospect, I really should call assists much more than I did. But it didn't really matter. I was able to get through Kenobi, almost. There we go, finally got through him, and then take out GK. So 52 banners there. Now on to Iden. This is an automatic Wampa solo. We're trying to decide the best Datacron for him. I think potency can be good, tenacity can be good. In this case, I chose armor penetration. So I'll go ahead and fast forward this. You've all seen it 100 times. So an easy 58 there, and now on to QuiGon. I decided on my bounty hunters. With no tank on the other side, I can target who I need to target to get the contract quickly. I checked speeds to make sure that my guys were faster than both Anakin and Qui-Gon, but I didn't check the speeds on Ahsoka. Who has a fast Ahsoka? Well, apparently this guy does, because she went first and she wrecked my Mando, and at that point, there's no reason to continue. So I switched over to the Shock clones, and here I took in my Imperial Troopers. Again, I checked speeds. I should go first. Should be no problem. We can get a quick kill and then get the turn meter train rolling. But I must have calculated something incorrectly, because we go first, but then they went second and third and fourth, and I am in trouble. With only one stack left on my Dark Trooper, he's not doing hardly any damage. And once he's gone, there's no point in continuing this. So with those two counters failing, now I am flailing. So I start to get stupid. I take in Grievous against QuiGon. Now this can work to take out QuiGon if you focus on QuiGon. But I'm stupid and I don't focus on QuiGon. Instead, I go after Anakin. I do an AoE here instead of focusing on QuiGon. Just focus on QuiGon, please. Nope, AoE. Now, focus Qui-Gon. Nope, AoE. So it didn't work. Just really frustrated with myself. At this point, it's the middle of the night. I'm on vacation. I just want to go to bed. I'm tired. So I took in my Padme Squad. I gave them a Datacron. We just need one hit on Qui-Gon to get him down. Of course, there's Foresight on the other side. So we're going to miss. And we're going to miss. We finally get Qui-Gon down. And now there's more Foresight. So we're going to miss again. And again. And again. Just so frustrating. Hey, I got a hit on Anakin. But too little too late. We at least got Qui-Gon down so we can clean this up. But before doing that, I decided to go back to the back zone. I have enough Jedi for 2 squads. So I figured one of them will take out this Bastila squad, one will take out the Shaak Ti squad, and then I can throw something together to get rid of the rest of the Qui-Gon Jinn squad. So back here, we're actually going to use Grandmaster Yoda's lead. We don't often get to use this, but I do have the Zeta on it. So this is a tough squad under the Bastila lead. And you've got all the extra protection from Basti. You've got the stuns from Ayla. You've got the taunt from Old Ben. You've also got the wipe from Old Ben that can take away turn meter or can ability block you. So not an easy task. This would have been a squad that was easy to underestimate. As you can see, we're slowly but surely working through them, but it's taking a while. All of that extra protection up from Basti is just a real pain to get through. Luckily, Grandmaster Yoda hits hard, so I am able to work through it. And I just focused on Old Ben. He's going to be taunting a bunch anyhow, so might as well get rid of him. Now I know that's not always best. You sometimes want to leave him for last, actually, because when he dies, he's going to give a bunch of buffs to the other 2. We finally got through his extra protection. And we're hitting under protection right now because of the Datacron that we have. So whenever we attack out of turn, we're able to hit under protection. That's actually a really good Datacron against a Bastila lead, because that extra protection up doesn't necessarily matter. If I had more attacks out of turn, it would be even more effective. finally got rid of Old Ben. Bastila is going to be next. So this is not going to be good banners, but honestly, at this point, I didn't care. Just wanted to get through it. Down goes Basti. Just Ayla left. She's a pain because she counterattacks and she stuns. I did a little heal there with Jolie, trying to get some banners back. Just another hit or two, and she should be down. Took a while, but we got through it. 54 banners is not great. Like I said, that was an easy squad to underestimate. So back to the front. We're going to take our other Jedi against Shaak Ti. This is my Bastila Ezra Kanan squad. I love these guys together. Great synergy. Put a Datacron on them. But this Shaak Ti squad, you want to talk about underestimating a squad. I underestimated this squad big time. We went after Arc. I know a lot of people say you got to go after Shaak Ti first, but I wanted to get rid of Arc Trooper. Because of the extra attacks from the turret. And you can see there, the turret just wiped out Ezra. Now Arc is in stealth, so now I have to go after somebody else. That turret is just doing monster damage. So I thought this was going to be no problem, but it was a big problem. So maybe I divided my Jedi up incorrectly. I don't know, but now I'm in trouble. Took my Night Sisters in to clean up Anakin and Snips. And though it's not pretty, it does work. So it's going to end up being low banners. Night Sisters are always low banners on offense. So 23. But what do I have for Shaak Ti? I've got nothing left. So I threw a bunch of garbage at it, and very predictably, none of it worked. So in retrospect, I really think this is a match that I could have won if I had played it differently, if I had planned differently, if I had used the correct counters in the correct places. But I have to remind myself, I'm watching this weeks after the fact. I was on vacation, it was the middle of the night, I hadn't done any planning. This was just kind of off the cuff, and this is what happens when I play that way. So the final score was 17-12 to 12-62. I'd like to thank Meg Ush for the match. I'd like to thank you all for watching, and I will see you next round.